Hello everyone. In this video, we'll look at how to solve problems using GDC. Here's our example. It says the time period t in seconds of completing one cycle of a pendulum of length L can be modeled by the following function over here. And we're to answer the following four questions. The first question is to find the domain and range. And this one, we can actually do it without calculator. The domain will just be the x value. In this case, it's our L value. Notice that inside the entire square root, we need to be greater than 0. So this is basically implying that our L needs to be greater than 0 or equal to 0. So that's our domain. And our range depends on whether our radical function has a positive or negative a value. In this case, our a value is 2 pi. So in this case, it's positive. You will realize that it's y, in this case, t greater than or equal to whatever the value at the end, the k value over here. In this case, it's 0, so it's t greater than or equal to 0. And that's it for our domain and range.
So let's graph this function with GDC. In this video, I'm gonna demonstrate via TI-Nspire. So you go to either B graph over here or this icon over here. And when you enter, if you see something that other people have left or whatever you have left before, for example, something like that, what you can do is you can hover over somewhere blank and then press the middle button, and then you go to second menu, and then you see the delete all, and you press enter. Are you sure you want to delete everything? And you click yes. Okay, and so all the graphs will be gone. If you want to get back to the original window, you can either press and hold by dragging that to something that you kind of feel familiar with, or if you want that to be precisely the most original standard grid, then you go to menu and you go down to window zoom, and then you go down to number 5, zoom standard, and then you click enter, and then you get back to the most original grid. Okay, so let's graph this function over here. The first thing is you press tab. You probably have some predefined functions, double check. In this case, for some reason, we have this function over here. The reason why it's not showing is because this box over here is not ticked. What you want to do is you want to make sure that it's cleared out. So you click Control and clear. And then you go ahead and type your original function over here. So you type 2 pi, pi is over here, enter, and then you do Control square root right here. And then you do a fraction, and then you have your L, which is x, type x, and then you go down to 9.8, and then you press enter. And then you see a very nice curve over here. You can, again, drag somewhere blank, and you can press and hold by grabbing the window, and then you can drag it over here manually in this calculator to make it show a better window. Okay, if you can't see anything at all at the beginning and you want to go straight to something that you can see without dragging that, you can go to menu, again window zoom, and then you go up to window settings, you enter. Again, the clue in this case will be given by your domain and range over here. Okay, this will be a very good guide to tell you what your x min max and y min max should be. Okay, in this case, since my x domain is L greater than or equal to 0, I'm gonna set my x minimum 0 then, because there's nothing else past below 0. So my y min, I'm also gonna set as 0 then. The x min and y min, it doesn't really matter. You can leave it as it is for now, and you get this graph over here, which looks great. So that's it for B. For part C, we want to find the time period of completing one cycle of a pendulum with length 2 meters. In this case, you realize that basically we're plugging the 2 meters into our L, which is the x value over here. Okay, so we're plugging x value and we're going to find the y value. There are two ways to do that. One is you go back home and you go up to the calculating feature. You go ahead and type whatever the function is plugged in with x equals to 2. So you type 2 pi, pi is over here again, enter, and then you do square root fraction 2 divided by 9.8, and then you get 2.83, approximately 2.84. This is the first method. The second method is you can go back to your graph. Sometimes when you go back to the graph, you realize that this is not showing something that you are doing. It's probably because that you're actually looking at different page over here, because we used to look at this. So you go back to this, then you will see what we typed over here. And also because be careful of the fact that TI-Nspire, you can open many different file folders over here. We used to be 1.2, and so therefore 1.3 is empty over here. So you go back to 1.2, you'll see your graph over here. Okay, so that's something that you gotta be a little bit careful. Now that you're back here, what you can also do in order to find the corresponding y value given x equals to 2, you can press menu, and then you go down to something called trace, and then you select that, you hit enter with the first one. It says graph trace, and then here it allows you to move along the graph by hitting left and right. So it's not going to go anywhere but along the graph. Okay, so of course you can do that manually by reaching the value close to 2 and find out what the y value is. But what you can also do is you can just type directly 2. Right? X equals 2, what is my y value? It goes straight there. And my y value is 2.84. So this is also another way to do it. Of course, to do that, you need to ensure that the x value is within the window that you set over here. Before, our window is 0 to, I think, 9.8 something. That's why it shows up over here. If it doesn't show up, you're gonna make sure you increase your window a little bit so that you can see the x value in the display. So that's it for part C. Finally, for part D, if you want to find the length of the pendulum that will complete the one cycle in 10 seconds, that basically means if my t is equal to 10, what is my L? So for part D, you're solving for 10 equals to 2 pi square root L over 9.8. Of course, you can go ahead and solve that by punching into the calculate feature over here. So what you can do is, by the way, if you want to clear all the history, you can just go control menu again, and then you select clear history. Okay, everything will be gone. Okay, so you have 10, first of all, you divide it by 2 pi. Now here you gotta be very careful, because when you do 10 divided by 2 pi, if you type 10 divided by 2, you really type a pi over here. This will be interpreted by the calculator saying that you want to do 10 divided by 2 first, which is 5, and then you multiply by pi. You multiply by pi, so you get 5 pi instead. This is not what we want. This is 10 over 2 times pi. Instead of doing that, you want to be careful. You either do the whole fraction thingy and make sure that you have the entire 2 pi on the bottom like this, or you do 10 divided by, with a bracket, 2, and then you do pi, right? You see that for TI-Nspire, they automatically give you a closing bracket over here, so you don't have to close it up by yourself. Or of course, you can do that by yourself as well, but you don't have to, right? And this will give you exactly the same answer. So you do that first, and then you square that. You square both sides, so you click square. And then with that result, you multiply by 9.8. Okay, so this is what you get if you use calculation, if you do the calculation by hand. So the answer is 24.8. What you can also do is the second method, that you go back to the graph, you press tab first, and that allows you to put another function. Remember the one that we put before was F1, and then now you press tab again, automatically it's gonna give you F2. Okay, of course, you can also keep pressing down and define your F3 and F4 and so on. Right, so we go to F2, and then now we want to define 10, because we want to equate this y value to the original y value, which is this function over here. Right, so once you do that, you're going to get a bar over here. You don't see it over here. It's because your y value here, in this case, is top at 8.74. Okay, your y is equal to 10. In order for you to see that, what you can do is you can either press and hold again, and then you drag it up a little bit until you see the bar finally over here. And then you keep dragging to the left and see when they're gonna finally intersect. If you're a little bit tired of doing that, you can go back to the menu and then window zoom to do your window settings, right? Remember what we did before was x min is 0, y min is 0. Now, in order for you to see more of x, you see that even for 19, I'm not really meeting my bar over here, my line over here. So what we can do is maybe we can set it as 30, okay? But you can keep doing that. You can set 30 for now, and if you still can't see it, you can keep going. Okay, and then your y value, it seems like we probably can have a little bit more space over here. Okay, of course this is fine as well, but if you want a little bit more space, you can type 15. So there you go, you see that, you see the intersection over here. Well, what you can do now is you can hit menu, and then you go down to analyze graph, and then I'm gonna find number 4, intersection, and I press enter. You will see this bar over here, okay, that you can hover over. I want to start from the lower bound. Okay, the lower bound means something to the left of the intersecting point. So maybe I can start from here, and I press the middle button, and then now they ask you upper bound. Okay, so I stretch that over, hover that over to the from left to right. And then you see that on the way of doing that, if I cross the intersecting point, I can actually already see my y value, x value. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. The intersecting value over here is x equals 24.8 and y equals 10. Of course, if you confirm that by pressing the middle button over here, it highlights for you over here. Okay, if you think that kind of, overlap with whatever was on the bottom, what you can do is you hover over, and then you press and hold to drag this thing somewhere else, right? So that you can see clear. So this is 24.8, which is exactly the same answer as what we got. And that's it.